Did you know that 92% of people never achieve their goals? That's heartbreaking to me. That means those goals or dreams don't even make it past the planning stage. But if you're someone who is determined to be part of the 8% who do, this podcast is for you. Before we dive in, I'd love for you to take a moment to rate and review the podcast. Your support helps me to continue to bring these meaningful and hopefully inspiring conversations to help you take action and achieve your dreams. So let's do this.
On this week's episode, I am back with my good friend, Joshua Smith. And prior to this, we were talking and I announced the fact that I'm leaving Adelaide, heading back to Sydney. And Josh was like, can I come on your podcast one last time? I'm like, of course. And anyone who knows Josh knows that any conversation that you have with him, it goes deep. It goes for a little while, but they're the best conversations. And one of them, we were talking about careers, and there were a few things that Josh said. And it was in that moment, I was like, that's what we're talking about on the podcast. So firstly, Joshua, welcome back.
Thank you. I feel like you sent me out to be like, you demanded a cat. But it's the last one we're going to do in person, so let's just have a chat.
No, of course. Love it. Love the conversation that we had. You said two things that I really love.
What did I say?
One of them was, and context, this was about careers. Mm-hmm. One of them was follow the feeling, or chase the feeling, sorry. You said chase the feeling. Yeah. And the other one that you said was there are no rules. Yep. I'm like, ooh.
There's two things I said.
Ooh. And for me, that really clicked because I am someone who puts myself in a box, and regardless of everything and all of my experience, I still see myself as one thing, mm-hmm. as doing one thing, still stuck in that state, what I used to do. Mm-hmm. So that really struck. So, Josh, tell me, what did you mean by there are no rules? And why do you think that?
That's a great question. I think the context of our conversation was important as well, in regards to like career progression and thinking about things as to where you want to go, what you want to do. If you're planning, you just strategize, that kind of stuff. And through my experience, what I have kind of realized is that people tend to have this idea of what it means and what you have to do to get to a certain position in life, whether it's career or job or, sort of progression or life, whatever that may be. Like there's this is how I should do things. So that's the general sort of consensus. And what I meant when I said there are no rules is that there are literally no rules as to how you have to or can get to certain positions and do certain things. And that's what I meant by that. And what I meant by that is that if you think about and you really want to go and do something, then that's the outcome. The path to get there can be anything. That's really what I meant by that.
That really resonated with me because it really got me to think outside the square, outside the traditional, here's a job, here's your qualifications, apply. And of course, there are some instances where you have to have certain qualifications, like I'm not going to apply to be a surgeon anytime soon. I have no qualifications that. But in the sense that, there are no rules in certain progressions. Now, I would love to know at what point in your career or in your life,
Mhm.
did you really either discover that, feel that, realize that? At what point did that?
Well, we can go deep. You want to go deep with some stuff?
Don't we always?
Yeah, we can do some stuff. So I had a chat the other day, and I had a chat the other day which highlighted some things for me. One of my friends, it's been on the show, right? And we were talking about some things that happened when I was younger. And when I was 15, one of my teachers said to me, and I can distinctly remember it because it's like burned in my memory. And I'm not sure I've taught this, but he said to me, "You'll never make it through uni," right? And I was like, "Cool, yeah, whatever, man." Went to uni, didn't make it through uni. That's the point where I was like, "Oh, maybe he had something. There was something in that, right?" What that kind of did, and if we're talking about like how that kind of sat with me, was taken to be like, I took that to be like, you'll never make it through uni, you're not smart enough, you never make it through uni, you don't have the discipline, you never make it through uni to get the outcomes that, you know, uni people get, right? That's how it kind of sat with me. And for me, that has been a thing my entire career. I've chosen an industry that is unregulated, number one, on purpose, probably because of that. And within that, within the unregulated industry, there are people who don't have degrees. There are people who have master's degrees and PhDs and whatever, all kind of doing similar stuff, right? And so what that tells me is that there's no real way to be doing what I want to be doing, right, in life. And the more I kind of got into, say, when I went through uni and when I went through, you know, the Cert 4, when I went through training and finding out and meeting people who had gyms or were training teams or whatever, the more I realized there's such a diverse range of experience and a diverse range of education and a diverse like stories to get where they were at. So I was kind of like, well, if there's such a diversity, then there's no set path to do that. And so what I tried to do in that time is I work out, okay, cool. And it's not just those in the industry as well. So through the role of like PT and fitness industry, you meet a lot of people. And so I met a lot of people who were high level business or very successful business or life, whatever, and learned from them. And same thing, like there's no rule set ways they got there. But what I did work out as a common factor in most of them was relationships. And how they thought about relationships and how they sort of, I say maneuvered in a non-negative kind of way, manipulated in a non-negative kind of way, and how they leveraged and supported relationships, right? And so outside of relationships, there's really no rules in how you can go about doing this. This was kind of like the development for me. And it was really interesting. You talk about surgeon. And you talked about before you only think of yourself as one thing, right? Really fascinating. But with a surgeon, in order to get to that level and to be a surgeon, you have to have a qualification degree, right? Have to. How many times have you asked a surgeon what their degree is, where they studied, what they've done? I didn't. Multiple surgeries, right? And so for me, there's an assumption that there's a degree, and there's an assumption that there's knowledge there, right? And they have to have that to get there, right? But it's based on relationships. My surgeon was someone who I met through playing soccer, through other people, or someone referred them, goes to this guy because he's really good, or goes to this girl, she's really good. And so there's for me, outside of establishing relationships with people and outside of like that community, there are no rules to how you have to go about doing things to get to where you want to go. Does that provide some context?
So when did you, like, what was the thing that you did that established that thought and really helped you go, actually, yeah, this will work. I can do this to get here. I can do that for that. Like, at what point did you understand that was a possibility for you?
Probably wasn't, but it wasn't one thing, probably multiple things.
Okay.
Probably multiple things. It was things I can remember. My first, if I go sort of back, my first lease of gym space was a big space on a big corner, almost a corner block in town. And the assumption would be, when I saw the space up release, the assumption was this could be super expensive. I can't afford it. I can't do it, whatever. And I made a call and actually talked to the agent. And I found out that what they were asking, what my assumption was very different. And I actually could make that happen, right? That was the first one. There was an assumption there. And the second thing was, going back as well, is when I started training teams and when I started training clubs and groups of people, I got to those clubs and got to train those people through relationships that I had had. People say, oh, hey, I've got this team, or I know some people who play here. Would you be interested in training? Right? The very fact of how I got to, I've trained 6 Matildas, right? And programs for, and I've trained a whole bunch of teams through that stuff from the soccer perspective. And the way I trained, I've got to that. If you go back through who met who and how I do that, I never applied for any job. I never responded to any ad. I never had to show any qualifications. It was literally through, hey, I know someone. Would you like to train me? Right? And so you tend to think there's a process. I have to have this experience. So I have to have this level of qualification. I have to be able to do that. Now you have to do good work.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
right. You can't just know people,
yeah.
right? But because I'd had that drive and the knowledge, I could back up what I was doing, and so then when that kind of amalgamation of my experience and knowledge at the time, and someone coming in wanting to utilize that met, right? And so that then allowed me to be like, cool, I can do the work, and then I did the work with them, build relationships with them, and then they tell their friends who are also now other players or other teams or other whatever, right? And so that was the fundament, that was the underpinning of that. You have to be able, you can't just want to meet someone and then that's going to happen, right? You have to be able to have the background for it, but I was prepared for that because of what I'd done. Now, that's the argument for university, and that's the argument for study, that's the argument for going through things in a certain way, is because, I've done this, which shows people that I've got a base level of knowledge. Right? That's the base. You have to have that. But there's no real rules to say you have to have in that way as it's been given to you by a system that is determined by something else. Just do what the fuck you want to do. And then if it works, it works.
I feel like there are industries where that's not completely 100% the case.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
they're up.
doing that, it is easier, not easy, but easier to do it in this sort of industry. I feel like it would be the same with, the creative space and the arts. That's all I can think of at the moment. But I feel like it's definitely easier to do it in some industries than there are others.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to the person who's like, I can't bloody well do that?
Get to know more people.
Excellent. Let's go there. Where do we find these people? And is it people in our own circle or
everywhere?
How?
There's a difference between seeing someone, like a human being, and not engaging, and engaging. There's a difference, right? And how would I highlight this? How I can think of. Do you want a personal example? I'll give you a personal example, right? Everywhere you go, there's someone doing something, right? Walk down the street, coffee shop, shopping center, library, wherever you go. The difference is between someone who can actually engage with them or not. That's the difference, right? Ask a different question, because we get into our habits of patterns of, here's what I'm doing, here's how I go. That person at the checkout is going to serve me, and the person at the coffee shop is going to give me my coffee, and I'm like, yeah, cool, I'll go with my day, right? The very reason, over the last, say, 5 or 6 years, we've had multiple dozens of dancers here, right? There's a whole bunch on the back wall there. And there would be, let's say 20 dancers have come in, paid money to the gym or to me for training, right? We have a partnership with the dance school. Take that back to 2015. I was hanging out in Chiba at Henley Beach, right? I'd go in, order coffee, go to the back room, do my work, right? And I started to see the same baristas over time, right? And so as I started to see them, I started to talk to them. Hey, what do you do outside of here? What are your hobbies? What do you enjoy doing? You know, not just going to be like, serve me, thanks, and then go. Through that, one of them said to me, oh, hey, I train at a gym. What do you do? Yeah, so you in this top, like this t-shirt all the time. There's a gym space. Oh, you're in a gym. Yeah, cool. What do you train? Oh, I know that person who trains there. Oh, awesome. What are you training for? I'm a dancer. Oh, that sounds really cool, right? Then, when their trainer had gone away, I was there. And they were like, oh, hey, my trainer's gone away for a couple of months. Would you be willing to train me? I said, of course I would, right? Come see me at the gym. They came to the gym. They enjoyed the gym, right? That person then was part of a dance school and knew her friends. And her friends came in. And it just spirals from there, right? And so if you didn't have that conversation, if I didn't say, what do you do? Or show an interest in someone else, and I just went, serve me, you're never going to have this. And it goes for everything. Like for everything. You know, I've got a new role with a new team, right? For the next year. That came up because I literally did things with this team like years and years and years ago. And I know people there. And then I'm around and they're like, oh, we need someone that can do that. We know a bloke. Let's call this guy. Right? So it's just the conversations that you have, and there are people have barriers, right? And so we being myself and my mum, went to a shops. Here's another one. Right? We are very different people. I'm very engaging and wanting to know about people. My mum was like, serve me. We went to the shopping centre and we were like, I don't know, getting some groceries for the dinner, whatever we were doing. And this was recently. We were talking the last 6 months, right? We went there and Mum's gone through, bought her groceries on the conveyor belt and cool, the regular stuff, right? And I ended up saying to the girl behind the checkout, I was like, oh, what are you doing tonight? And I was like, what are you talking to them, right? And I was like, it's just human being, right? So we were like, she's like, oh, I'm going to the Port game. So you a Port supporter? She's like, yeah. We had a chat about this and her demeanor changed because someone took an interest in her, number one. Now, and this was just fun, right? I'm not trying to get anywhere or do anything, but who knows where that could have gone, right? So it's just having a different discussion allows you to do different things. And it's overcoming that idea that I'm just doing my thing. No one wants to talk to me. No one wants to engage with me. I don't want to engage with someone else. I don't want to get to know anyone. Now, you don't have to do that with everybody. I don't engage with every barista at every coffee shop I go to. And you don't do it for a purpose. Like I didn't go, I'm going to look at this barista, then she's going to help. It doesn't happen like that. The opportunities arise within that. And the more you get to talk to people, the more you know people, the better things are going to be. And people are literally everywhere. Right? And you just get out of it. Like it's people are in patterns. Generally, we're in patterns, and it's breaking that pattern. It's interrupting the pattern. If you're walking down the street going somewhere, right? You're just like doing a thing, whatever, right? If someone jumps out in front of you and says, hey, that interrupts your pattern that you're in. And then what happens from there is like, how do they engage with you?
So what's he selling to me?
Right? That's a pattern because you've learned that over time. Or if someone comes running up, oh my God, help, right? You're going to be like, what's up? And then they go, hey, I've got something to tell you. They've engaged you, right? So it's the patterns that people are in, is how you understand, how do I engage with them? And that's how you meet people. Like I had friends say to me, oh, I can't meet anyone, right? Now, romantically or friendship-wise, right? Put yourself in a different position. What do you enjoy doing? There are groups of people that do what you enjoy doing. Whatever that is. There are groups of people that enjoy doing that. And if you go and engage with those groups, you've got some commonality there. And then who knows what blossoms from that? And then you just follow what feels good. That's a conversation.
I love that because, and I love that circuit breaker because we're all in our routines, set in our ways, doing the same things, getting really comfortable, and it gets scarier to go and talk to the person behind the counter or at the gym or whatever it is. And so to the person who is nervous because they hate the idea of engaging, what is a good way to firstly get comfortable with the idea
Mhm.
of engaging
Mhm.
people, and then how to sort of slowly integrate those behaviors in their life.
First thing is understand yourself a little bit of self-awareness. Not doesn't be like therapy for years, right? It's just a little bit of like, okay, how do I engage with the world? What's my relationship like with the world, with other people, first and foremost? And then it's practice. You know, asking a different question, doing a different thing, taking note of what you do day to day. Like, how do I engage? What are my patterns of behavior? What do I do when I go to the shops? So everyone does like regular shit. There's a whole bunch of regular shit that we do, right? How do I present in this moment? How do I present in that moment? What am I like when I'm at the shops? What am I like when I'm at the coffee shop? What am I like when I'm going and doing this type of sport? And understanding, oh, cool, I don't really talk to people, or people talk to me, but then I'm awkward to talk back to them. Why am I defensive? Why do I not feel like engaged? What do they want from me? Where's my like feel of the chat come from? Like understanding yourself a little bit, and then allows you to take a little step a different way, ask a different question. Now, when I sort of want to do things differently, I'll actually write out like a bank of questions. I'll have like, okay, I'm going to ask someone this random question today. What are you doing next Friday night?
Where does that come from? Like, what do you mean when you want to do something differently? What's the inspiration?
Like if I'm saying, oh, cool, in this situation, right? Jack, the gym. Let's say the gym, right? Now I own the gym, so it's a different sort of relationship to those coming in because they're coming for a reason. But if I want to get to know someone a bit differently or get to know someone deeper, I'm going to ask them different questions. So, what did you do last weekend? What are you doing next weekend? What are your training goals? What do you want to do here? You get into those patterns of things. What's your favorite memory from high school? Tell me about that. What do you do? One of my favorite ones. What do you do when there's like no one around, like your hobby? Where do you invest your time in? What do you read? What do you watch? Why do you watch that? It's those questions. How, what, when, why, where. And that opens up a discussion. And then you just pull on threads. What do you do when you're by yourself and houses are around? Oh, I watch Love Island. Why do you watch Love Island? What do you get from it? Oh, I love seeing why this happens and these people and look at all this other shit. Why does that interest you? And then you just boom, boom, boom. And then like once you start to think about just those 5, like how, what, when, why, where, you can learn a lot more. And then you just kind of like go from there. I used to write down, right? So let's say I'm engaging with someone and I've actually got my phone right now, right? Okay, at the cafe. This happened. I found out this from someone. I wrote this down. Laro, the owner of Mr. Sunshines, has these cars, likes the car race. The next time I go in, I'm like, oh, what happened on the weekend? Did you do any car racing? How'd it go? And then things just happen. You just pull on the threads. That's how you meet different people and different things happen.
Yeah, I love that. That's similar to when I was working as a massage therapist, but also like with the baristas, my favorite baristas, I will take note of what's going on in their life, and then when you bring it up, they're like, oh, "You remembered that?"
Yeah,
and so it's really cool to, get that connection and respect as well. And they feel seen, they feel heard, they're valued because you remembered them. So I love that. I want to. Do you have anything else to say to that?
No, not a minute.
Cool. Because I want to come back to the other quote, which was "chase the feeling."
Yep.
So, in all of this that we've already spoken about, where does that come into it?
Everywhere.
Tell me more.
If you talk to someone, you ask them questions. Let's say we're following this line, right? If you're talking to someone and you ask them questions and they're giving you donuts. Awkward. It's like, that's cool. I'm not going to keep pushing. I'm not going to keep pushing. I'm not going to, if what you're saying bores me or I don't, it's a feeling, right? It's a chase of feeling. If you say something and I get nothing from it, I get no feeling, anger, I don't get any anger, I don't get any happiness, I don't get joy, intrigue. If I'm just dead inside when you say something to me, I'm not going to follow up that line of questioning. And I'm going to ask you 3, this is me, right? I'll ask you 3 questions. And if I get 2 out of 3 dead answers, I'm going to go back to the patterns because I'm going to invest my time.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you ask someone something and they give you something and there's a feeling there, whatever that feeling is, like feelings are feelings, right? It could be an uncomfortable feeling. It could be a comfortable feeling. It could be joy. It could be hatred, whatever it could be, right? But if the feeling comes, then you know there's something there. Then you can engage on that a little bit more, right? And from a anger perspective, if something makes you angry, the question I want to go is, why do you think that? Because I want to understand you. And then when I understand you, I understand that everybody has commonalities. So there's going to be commonalities somewhere, and I'm going to keep, engaging with you in that regard. But chase whatever that feeling is, and if you don't have the feeling, then run the other way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really like curiosity.
Yeah.
That's something that I would work with within the treatment, right? With clients who are happy to talk. And where you said, if it's anger, if you don't agree with something, I mean, I would get that a lot. And you've got to, in that professional setting, you've got to make sure there's a line as to how much you go into something and whether you do follow that. Right? But because, you've already, this is, when you've established a relationship, generally, there's mutual respect there. And so going down that path is really enlightening because it tells you more about them, but it tells you more about yourself and the reasons or the narratives that maybe you had or believed that might not be true, factual, whatever it is. So curiosity for me is something that I really like to follow. Can you talk more back to the fact with career, with there are no rules? Well, if there's no rules, this is really effing scary. Should I be following this? Should I be doing this? Where's the what are those feelings and what are you trying to chase when you're in the middle of all that?
For me specifically or in general?
Yes. Oh, well, both.
Because
they're different.
Well, like the self-awareness part is key.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we were talking and you were saying, this is scary, I want to know why. Why is it scary? If you have, it's like having a buffet. Do you get scared at a buffet?
I'm running to the buffet.
Why?
With bells on.
Why?
Because it's food and I love food.
Why?
All of the food.
Right? Choice. Selection.
Yep, an experience. Yeah. It makes you feel something.
Right? And if I said to you, now we're not at a buffet, we're going out, and you can only choose from 3 things on the menu. Now I tell you what they are. How are you going to feel?
Restricted.
Exactly. So is there a fear around the options? Because
I'm pissed.
Right?
Give me the buffet.
At the buffet, you're not scared. There's no fear there because you can go out and select whatever you want to do, and that's what I think when I think no rules. If there's no rules, I'm gonna try some of the chicken parmesan at the buffet, and if I don't like it, I'm gonna go try some of the noodles. Not like that, or I'm gonna go try some of the vegetables. And that's what comes up from it. It's not like if you have it in mind that I'm going to do one thing, that I'm going to enjoy that, I'm going to chase that, I'm going to keep following that, and then I'm going to get to somewhere that I want to go. That's not how it works, right? It's the feeling that keeps coming, right? If you don't enjoy it, do something different. I've had like 6 different businesses, but all of them kind of like, nah, not really feeling this one, right? Sunglasses, clothing, another gym space, all this kind of stuff, and they never had the same kind of feeling with that, right? And so the fear that comes is like, why do you have that fear? Once again, we go back to the self-awareness and understanding yourself. Why are you scared of this? Is it because your family disapproves of this? Is it because your friends disapprove of this? Is this because you don't think that compared to society, this is where you should be at this point in time? You should have different things. All of those things come into it, and that's where like the fear the fear kind of comes from, or the comparison kind of comes from, is because I've been told through whatever means that this is where I should be doing and this is where I should be. As soon as I think as soon as you kind of release that, or you start to explore that, like, hang on a second, I don't want to do that. I don't have to do that. Why is that the case? The fear starts going and you start becoming more empowered into what you want to be doing. I want to go and try this and realize that if I don't enjoy or I don't want to continue going with this, I don't have to do that. And it's not a failure, it's a learning. Right? You always hear that cliche, I didn't fail, I learned, right? It's true though. It's true though. And you can only learn something if you dive into it and you explore it. If you don't explore it and you only do service level stuff, then you're never going to understand how much that could be or the feeling that comes with that, And it's really interesting. I was talking to someone the other night and I wanted to know the beginnings of how they started their thing. And their answer, their response was, it was never about the money. And my advice to you is never make it about the money. I thoroughly enjoyed selling and thoroughly enjoyed what they were doing. And I thoroughly enjoyed that and I wanted to do the best I could at that. And the money just came from that. So they had a feeling and they just chased that feeling and they just kept going with it. And guess what? What they invested their time in happened to be, from a monetary sense, successful. Now that could be art. I've got other friends who thoroughly enjoy the feeling when they paint something, when they draw something, and they become successful with that. But that doesn't come with financial reward unless and until, right? And so those things come up, and that's what I think. Like, if you find something like that where you enjoy doing it, and it's you can remove and you can shed the ideas of what does this mean to me, or what does this mean compared to family, friends, societal circles, whatever. Then the more you're going to be able to invest in that. And that's why putting yourself in those positions where you're around people who enjoy doing the same stuff and normalizing what you're doing is going to make it so much easier. Because if you're constantly going at like head to head with your friends or your family or whatever, you can never fully chase the feeling that you want to chase, right? Like, that's how I kind of think about it. And I could go with some missable examples, but I think that really is hopefully really clear.
Yeah. I understand that we're all different and we all have different drivers for what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I also know that there are those out there who the feeling isn't the thing that drives, and it's more, for the logical or rational reasons. To the person who is that more rational mind, that logic, must do this because that equals this, which means I can do this, provide for the family, whatever it is. But not so happy, or there's no enjoyment or fulfillment in what they're doing. If you're having the conversation with that person, let's just say they're in the gym, how does that conversation go?
Do you want to change? Like, honestly. And if they don't want to change, then we go, awesome. Keep doing what you're doing. No. Is this something if they're resting in their family, they have to do a certain thing because they've got to a position. And that's what they have to do. They take that sadness or that melancholy, and that allows them to then do stuff with their family or do stuff with their friends, where it lives that life. There's a happiness that comes from that, or a joy that comes from that, hopefully. And if that's a thing, then you keep doing that because you know why you're doing it, you know what your outcome is. And it doesn't have to be work, right? Like, I do this so I can do that. Great. That provides you the life that you want. If it's I do this and I do that stuff, but I don't really want to be doing that stuff, then it's a different conversation. Then it becomes, okay, cool, let's look at your numbers and how can we then help you out with moving somewhere different, in a different way. Because time, energy, money, the three main things, levers that we can pull on to help us get to a certain position. And I tend to think there's always some time, there's always some energy, there's always some money, whatever increment you would have of that, to be able to invest in something different, to go somewhere different if that's what you want to do. That's the conversation. And if they want to change, then we talk.
What has come first for you? The goal or the feeling?
Feeling.
So you set the goal based on the feeling.
Yep.
Has there ever been a moment where chasing the feeling has taken you off course of the goal, and then you've sort of had to go, actually, maybe my goal was never what I wanted, maybe this is it, or have you ever thought, actually, I'm off track now, must get back on track? Like
yes and no, I think. I think yes and no. Like investing in other things, like investing time in selling wooden sunglasses, which is what I did. As like 50 pairs of wooden sunglasses, right? Investing time in that takes away time from doing the other stuff. Now, I was like, cool, this is the feeling I want to do right now. I think this would be really cool. But there was never a goal to be like, make that the main thing. But that took away from time and money and energy I could spend in doing the stuff that made me feel really good. So it's only through reflection I go, okay, that was great. I enjoyed that, but I get more fun and enjoy more stuff here. And so I've never, I wouldn't say never, because I have been goal and I have direction. But I've never really been like, this is what I want to do. This is where I got to get to. Never really had that. It's always been, let's see what I can do with. Let's see what I can do if. Let's see how I can do whatever. I had this conversation a little bit earlier with Beck, one of my coaches here, literally an hour ago. And she said to me, I'm doing some things at the moment. And she said to me, oh, wow, like if this goes here, is that, if you follow that line, is that where you want to get to? I said, no, and that's not the goal. If it comes up, then I'll explore it. It literally feel good. Then we'll do it if it makes sense, and we'll do it. But if that doesn't come up, there's no, this is what I want to get to. There's no disappointment from not getting to that. It's like, what would come from doing this? And I remember walking to the very reason we're in here, like this right now, is I remember walking into Fitness First when I was there one day. And it was like a random Wednesday. Right? I was in, and I walked in the evening, and I looked up, and there was like, where it was, you look in cardio floor reception, there was a little mezzanine level, and then there's a second floor at the top, which was a weights, and there's another floor. And I walked in, hey, receptionist, right? And I just stopped, and I looked up, oh, it'd be so cool to own a gym one day. That would feel amazing. And that was a feeling. And then I was kind of like, oh, what would I have to do to explore this?
So has there ever been a moment then? I mean, I don't know if this speaks to your wooden sunglasses story, but where you have, okay, let me give some context. So with what I do at the moment, I am trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. Mm-hmm. And I'm exploring different things. And I'll get to a stage where like, oh, this feels good. Let's do this. But then that feeling is fleeting, and then there's something else. Oh, this feels good. Let's concentrate on this. And not that they're all for nothing, because I believe that I've learned something from all of those things. But it's like, at what point do you go, am I chasing a feeling that is like the cheap thrill? It gets me a reward really quickly, but it gets me nowhere, so to speak. Can you decipher the difference between that type of feeling and the one that's going to get you to commit to something and like full steam ahead on that?
How much do you know yourself?
How much do any of us know ourselves?
You can know yourself more. And that's the thing. Am I chasing something because it gives me a hit now, right? And I'm constantly chasing things that give me hits. That's what I do in life. I constantly look forward to the weekend. Or constantly, oh, this feels good. But then I don't really have the discipline to follow it through, or I don't really have the motivation. It doesn't give me a sustained sense of fulfillment. Am I just jumping from thing to thing? Or do I actually understand why I'm jumping from thing to thing? Or the level of what this gives me? What does this provide me? Do I understand what my intrinsic values are? And how do I want to present those values in the physical world, right? So if, say with the sunglass thing, that felt great. But I was kind of like, it doesn't really give me much. We're just selling sunglasses to people, right? I thought I would tie it to environmentalism and whatever, but it never really progressed that far to that extent. Whereas when I'm in the gym, my values are, I want to share, I want to have community. I want people to feel good. The gym name, right, is a tattoo from me that I've got that's related to my life philosophy. So it's very intrinsically tied into what I believe in and my values. And so the more you can understand yourself, and the more, it might be therapy, it might be more reading, understanding, or learning about different styles or development or whatever. The more you can do that, you can really start to peel away what your layers are. And here's my values. Here's what I believe. here's how I want to present myself in life, and here's the things I want to do. What was really interesting is you said, I realized I'm trying to think about what I want to do for the rest of my life. Why does it have to be the rest of your life? Why can't it be for the next year?
It's just something.
Why can't it be 2 years? But your words and your language are an insight into what happens in your mind. And so if your thoughts are, and this isn't at you, this is like everyone, all of you, right? This is like, if I say something like this, that's because that's how it presents in my brain. And that presents my brain, that's the tip of the iceberg, that then there's a lot more that comes underneath that. And understanding what that is then allows you to go, okay, cool. Do I want to be doing gym training and team training and working one-on-one people for the rest of my life? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Do I thoroughly enjoy now? Yes. What does it look like for the next year? Like this, but better, you know? And so the more, once again, it goes back to the self-awareness. And so for you, Jackie, if you're finding something and you're like, this feels good, they're like, nah. This feels good, they're like, nah. This feels good. Understanding why they feel deeper will then allow you to be like, okay, cool. Well, I like this because it allows me to speak my mind. Or I like this because it allows me to connect with people. I like this because of whatever, but actually that also allows me to connect with people. Oh, and this also actually allows me to connect with people. So essentially, I want to connect with people. How do I go about doing that? How do I explore that? And if I, think about this one here, will this allow me to do that in more depth as I gain more skills? Because when you do things, you gain skills. And not everything has to have an immediate outcome. And the skills that you gain can then allow you to then present yourself and your values and present the world in a lot more of a greater and different way.
I love what you said in the sense that, when you're looking at all the different things that you're doing and what's the feeling that you can extract from that, that thing. And if they're all similar, then that's actually what you want to be doing. That's the goal. And you said communicating, did you say?
If your thing is communicating, connecting with people.
Connecting, that's what you said. Connecting. I love having these conversations because it allows me then to hear someone else's take on something, because we can get so stuck again in our own heads, in our own environments, in our own routines. And that can be sometimes really debilitating when you're trying to work things through or work things out. Even if you're trying to figure out what you're going to have for breakfast or for lunch or whatever it is, like when you're stuck in your own bubble, it can be really hard to see any other possibility. So that's why I love having these conversations. Is there anything else that you think that we need to cover or that's really important for people to know, whether it is about their career, following rules or not, chasing the feeling that you'd want people to walk away?
What boxes are we putting ourselves in still is a big one. And this is part of what came up for me the other day. And why I do certain things, why I am the way I am. So my story is not I followed the path. I went to uni and I got this and did that and whatever. And so there's a part of me, was really, really cool. This is part of me that came up where when I was talking with my friend, she was talking about, okay, there's a part of you that wants to be seen and needs to be seen, as with everybody, right? But there's also a big part of you that doesn't want to be seen. Why is that? When we talked about the uni story, the story when I was 15, and having that guide everything, be like, okay, cool, that's probably what it is. So your story is where you are and what you do in your industry compared to most people in your industry at similar kind of level of experience, whatever. They've all got degrees, and you're kind of like, imposter syndrome, or I don't feel worthy enough, or whatever. All this deep shit, and it's all true, 100%. And starting to like own that story and understand what that is, and how that then presents as things allows me to then go, okay, cool. Well, there's all these labels I put on myself that actually limit what we can do from a business perspective and limit what I can do from a career perspective. Because think about it. I don't have a website. I don't have advertising out there. Okay, I don't outwardly promote a lot of shit advertising wise, and that'll feed back into me being like, oh, do we want to be seen? Do we not want to be seen? You know. And so this is something my next sort of profession is working on that and understanding that, and unpacking that. That's going to be fucking all of fun.
So on the next episode,
I'm going to fly to Sydney for the next one. I'm not.
yeah,
This is a business trip to Sydney, but unpacking that, and then as soon as that goes, guess what? As soon as I do these things, which I know I need to do, and that are going to help us explode a lot more, this will become my own shit, and goes that. So everybody out there has their own stuff. Everybody at whatever level that is. And understanding what that is and what boxes we're putting ourselves into, or thinking we're just a master therapist, thinking we're just a personal trainer, or thinking we're just I'm just I'm whatever comes after that is where your limitations are. And unpacking that and kind of working through that is extremely challenging. Get therapy.
Exactly. You said one thing, and I'm not sure if I misunderstood, but you were talking about when you were 15, all the things that happened, went to uni, didn't finish uni, all of the stuff is true. You said something like,
yeah. So my teacher said to me,
yes, okay,
yeah,
okay. What I want to say on that is, those are facts that happened, but all the shit that you tell yourself, that's not fact.
Exactly.
Those are just the narratives or the stories that you then form because of the thing that happened.
Correct. Yeah. And what's really interesting is, in the chat I had with Beck earlier, is that I told her about this story, and it obviously came up on the weekend. So I think this story came up, and that's part of the reason why this is what happened. And my internal is the imposter syndrome. No degree, bucket loads of experience, right? And invest in learning. No degree, therefore I can't make therapy. It was really interesting. Beck said to me, so you know how I see you? And I was like, I have no idea. And she said, Joshua's been able to do all this stuff without a degree. Why am I going to go to uni? And I was like, whoa, very different, very different. And it's only through having that conversation with her can I be like, shit, you know, she respects the work I've done from an external perspective, not just as an employee, staff member, friend, right? Like, respects what's been done and respects what I've done and I'm able to do. And I was like, I don't see that internally, because I'm like, I should have, blah, I should have done, I am, whatever. And so having done, talking to people, understanding their different perspectives, allows you to kind of strip that through. And if I didn't have the conversation on the weekend, didn't start to process what that meant, I wouldn't have had the conversation today and wouldn't be able to learn this about myself and about how others perceive me. It's wild.
Wild.
It's wild.
Chase the feeling. There are no rules. Connect, engage, and figure out your shit.
You don't need to figure it out. No, you don't need to figure it out. It'll come. It'll come.
Yeah, but the self-awareness piece.
Oh,
you can start something.
Learn, read attachment styles, get on the fierce intimacy, talked about before, right? Get some therapy if you need that. You want to get some help with that. Understand yourself whilst chasing the feeling. And then things will come. Then you go like, I know why I'm doing this, or I feel like good doing this, or I don't like doing that, right? You don't need to figure it out. There's no rules.
Sorry, wrong choice of words. Language. Okay. So, this has been awesome.
Thank you.
Like usual. Is there anything else that we need to touch on? I mean, you ended it really perfectly, really, but...
I was also going to say that the only other thing that's come up recently, which caused emotion in conversations that I've been having, mainly from me.
What was the emotion?
Was frustration. It was frustration, and it was conviction. And I won't say what it was, Emma, because that's irrelevant, what the conversation was. But the outcome was, don't apologize for things. don't apologize for things that you may feel you have to apologize for. Right now, if you've hurt someone or you've gone and done some shit, then of course you have to, and you have to acknowledge your role in that, and you have to go about that. This was more so about going, oh, I shouldn't speak like this or about that because I'm not in that situation, right? Cool. Understand the situation you are in, though. And this was in particular in regards to like gym training and in regards to, everyone has a sacrifice to make. And what that sacrifice is either allows you to live positively and happily and healthily, or the sacrifice that you make allows you to, doesn't lead to that. And if you're on one way or the other, you don't have to apologize for how you live because that's how you choose to live. You don't have to apologize for that. And you have to shrink yourself down so others feel good. It's the same thing. And it really brought up a lot for me in regards to like, there's a lot of people, and we have a very high female base in here, and there's a lot of apologies that are occurring that shit you don't need to apologize for. And I just want people to remember that. Like, if you've got to say, I'm sorry for something, understand why you're saying I'm sorry. Because you probably don't need to apologize.
Oh, that's so good. And honestly, coming here is when or meeting you, you're the one who I would be apologizing to. And you're like, what for? And you don't need to. And I'm like, actually, yeah, why am I apologizing? Right? So I think studies show that women do apologize too much for stuff that they don't need to be apologizing for. But I want to say it's a credit to you, firstly, for recognizing that and to helping everyone in the gym realize that it's okay and it's not necessary, and we don't owe anything to anyone. I mean, unless, like you said, you have hurt them and you got to go back. What's the intention behind your actions? But yeah, I read a quote this morning and I thought, I'm going to end the podcast with that quote because it reminded me not only of you, but what you have done with your business, with your community. And I really loved it. So this is it. And this is a quote from someone. It was Lily Collins. She said, "The older I get, the more I understand how truly important it is to have not necessarily a big group, but a group that makes you feel big." And that's what you do here. So on that note, Josh, thanks very much for everything that you do and for having awesome conversations.
It was my pleasure.